Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad wa barak wa sallam. Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayh. Wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah wahdahu la sharika lahu. Wa nashhadu anna sayyidina wa sanadana wa shafi'ana Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Amma ba'd. Fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. وَمَنْ أَصْدَقُ مِنَ اللَّهِ حَدِيثًا صَدَقَ اللَّهُ الْعَظِيمُ. So we are on the finishing, inshallah, the second half of the fifth juz of Quran al-Kareem, and we are in Surah An-Nisa. Surah An-Nisa, verse number 87. So the last phrase of verse number 87 is وَمَنْ أَصْدَقُ مِنَ اللَّهِ حَدِيثًا. That indeed, who is there who is more truthful than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala haditha in his statements. So this is a phrase that will come elsewhere in the Quran al-Kareem, وَمَنْ أَصْدَقُ مِنَ اللَّهِ قِيلًا وَمَنْ أَصْدَقُ مِنَ اللَّهِ حَدِيثًا. And this comes at the conclusion of an ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying something emphatically. It's for taqeed, it's for emphasis, but it's something for us to think about. And I also feel that if sometimes somebody has any doubts, or they're not fully 100% in certain conviction about the meaning of a verse, or the import of the verse, or the interpretation of the verse, or the understanding of the verse, or the hidayah guidance in the verse, or the understanding of the verse, they can recite this وَمَنْ أَصْدَقُ مِنَ اللَّهِ حَدِيثًا, and reflect on this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most true being, the being of utter truth, al-haq, the only being who is truly, absolutely, eternally, pre-eternally real and manifest and evident. And Kalamullah is the greatest truth that could possibly exist. I don't think we fully appreciate and understand the level of truth in Quran al-Kareem. It is the definition of truth. It is absolute truth, pure, pristine, immaculate, unshakable, unalterable truth. And if there's something that me and you maybe don't understand, or we can't, reconcile it with some aspect of modernity or postmodern secular liberalism or whatever, then that's a flaw in our own mind. And that's okay, because there are many truths that me and you may not understand. There are many scientific truths that are beyond my understanding. How it is that I can speak right now and across the world within 1 second somebody can hear that. That's a scientific reality. I cannot claim to understand how exactly that happens. So we should also, what I'm trying to explain here is that the truth, capital T truth, is something that transcends human rationality. And that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the truth in wahi, in revelation, in kitab, in scripture, in Quran al-Kareem. And obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uniquely is able to do that, because He is the one and only God. He is the only one who is al-Alim, and who possesses all knowledge, and al-Hakim possesses all wisdom. Alright, verses 88 onward, and there are going to be a lot of verses now talking about this incident, so I will talk about it very briefly, and that is the Hijrah. So all of you would know about this famous incident, that when the Sahaba Ikram radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajmain and Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam migrated from Makkah Mukarramah to Medina Munawwarah. Now, there were some people also at that time, even in the late Meccan period, and certainly throughout the Medinan period, who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself, again, in His absolute knowledge and His absolute truth, right? Remember again, وَمَنْ أَصْدَقُ مِنَ اللَّهِ حَدِيثًا. So it's as much related to as what's coming before it, but it's actually a very important introduction to what's coming after it. And that's, in that sense, I'm trying to explain it to you today. So there were people called by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the ultimate true being in the Quran, which is the ultimate work of truth, munafiqun, that they were hypocrites. Now, when this word comes in Quran al-Kareem, it's not referring to what me and you might say in English, oh, that person's hypocritical, they don't practice what they preach, they say what they don't do. No, it's referring to something much more intense here. It's talking about nifaq fil iman. means that they claim and profess and outwardly adopt and posture as if they're believers, but deep inside their heart, in their ruh, they're disbelievers. Now you must understand also that the Quranic understanding of kufr, the original disbelievers, meant those, and you may have heard me translate it this way before in the series, those who denied the truth and chose to disbelieve, denied the truth, knowing it to be the truth, but yet chose to disbelieve it in any way. That's the reality of Abu Lahab and Abu Jahl, and not all, but the overwhelming majority of quote-unquote kuffar at the time of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So the hypocrite is one level even worse, that they know the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to truly be the true Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They know that Allah ta'ala truly does exist. They know that Quran al-Kareem is the true revelation and kalam of Allah ta'ala, but they choose to deny it and disbelieve it in any way. However, when they deny it and disbelieve it, they decide for worldly gain, for worldly reasons, not for akhirah, not for Allah Ta'ala, not for religion, not for spirituality, for worldly reasons to adopt and posture as believers. Alright? Now, the reason I said all this is a very subtle thing. The munafiqun in the Quran are not atheists. The munafiqun in the Quran, they know that Allah Ta'ala is true. They know Quran is true. They know the Prophet ﷺ is true. So I keep repeating this. But they choose to deny that truth. And what is the form of the denial? They choose not to believe in it. They choose not to submit it. So by believe, I'm not talking about epistemologically acknowledging existence or truth. They do that. By believe, it means they don't submit. They don't take Iman. They don't adopt Islam. They don't do Taslim. But even worse than that, they pose as believers for certain worldly gains. So what happened was that when Sayyidina, and the second thing I'll also tell you, is that the Sahaba Kiram did not know definitively who these munafiqun were. Alright, now when Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and the Sahaba Kiram migrated from Makkah Mukarramah to Medina Munawwara, there were some people who approached the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and they asked that we want to return to Makkah Mukarramah. Some of them said we want to return. They gave different reasons. Some of them said, oh, we left some things behind, we want to collect them. Some of them said we need to return there because we're not able to earn a livelihood here, and we had our tijara, our trade, our commerce there, so we're going there for our livelihood. Alright? Now, when they made this request, the true believers, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, were unsure, and they were divided basically in two opinions. One opinion was that no, they are believers, but maybe they have a legitimate reason of going, or maybe they're finding it difficult here. And the second opinion was that no, these are those munafiqun. These must be those munafiqun Allah has been telling us about in Quran al-Karim. These are the fakes, these are the imposters. So the Sahaba Kiram generally, in the lifetime of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, had a difference of opinion about how to view those people. Alright? Now, interestingly, Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam himself did not resolve this difference of opinion. Many ulama feel that the Prophet ﷺ knew, but for whatever reason he chose not to resolve it. And so we can just speculate. One may be that he was Rahmatul Alameen. He was so merciful, so tender, so kind, so loving, so compassionate. He was hoping, maybe hoping against hope, as one might say in English, that these munafiqun would accept Iman. He didn't want to out them because he knew once he outed them, then they would be committed to their path of disbelief that they've chosen, and there would be no hope for them. And he was compassionate for every member of humanity, and he didn't want to do anything that ended up sealing the heart of a person. But because the Sahaba Kiram now started at this moment, so in Makkah Mukarramah, Allah did not out them after the Hijrah, and then they themselves came and they said they wanted to go back. So in these passages, Surah An-Nisa verses 88 and onward, if you will, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to out them. Alright? And Allah ta'ala will make it clear that they are munafiqun. All right, they are who? Again, the people who wanted to go back to Makkah Mukarramah after reaching Medina Munawwara. Some ulama are of the position that not only does these verses in this passage cover the group of people that I just described to you, it also covers another group of people, and those were the ones who remained in Makkah Mukarramah initially and never made that initial hijrah, never even migrated to Medina Munawwara in the first place. So the reality is that there were some who remained in Makkah Mukarramah for that reason, but there were some who genuinely remained in Makkah Mukarramah because they were too elderly or sick or ill to make the hijrah. Okay? But from that group who after making the hijrah wanted to return, the entirety of them is held to be from the munafiqun. Alright. Beyond that, I'm not going to talk more about the passages, but I'm going to pluck out certain general, universal teachings from these ayat. So in verse 88, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says something. So the second part of the verse. أَتُرِيدُونَ أَن أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أَتُرِيدُونَ أَن تَهْدُوا مَنْ أَضَلَّ اللَّهُ, that to all of you believers wish that you all will be able to give hidayah and guide those people, such a person, man أَضَلَّ اللَّهُ, that Allah Ta'ala has let them go astray. وَمَن يُضْلِلِ اللَّهُ فَلَن تَجِدَ لَهُ سَبِيلًا. No, and know that every such person, any such person, whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lets them go astray, then never ever will you be able to find for them a sabil, a way and a path, a way and path of guidance. Alright? So now, me and you won't always know this. But sometimes, even now, there are very few people like this, but they will do something of their own testimony, their own words, their own actions will definitively establish that they've chosen to deny the truth and disbelieve in it, even though they know it to be true. So for a person like that, it's not possible to guide them when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala let them go astray. So what does it mean? That we are responsible in the same way that Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was responsible, was for initial dawah, an initial invitation to deliver the message, to clarify the message, to be living models and exemplars of the true virtues and character of Deen of Islam. And beyond that, ultimately, Allah Ta'ala knows best who has chosen to accept the truth and who will choose to deny it. Alright. Then in verse 90, there's also what comes later than in these passages in Surah Nisa is some more ahkam or rulings about warfare, right? And I had done this once in Surah Baqarah and told you that I will not talk about it again. But again, I will pluck out certain things from these ayat that are of particular interest or universal application. So there's one group in verse 90 in the middle who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran that you should not fight them. You should not fight them. Who? So the first is those who إِلَّا الَّذِينَ يَصِلُونَ إِلَىٰ قَوْمٍ بَيْنَكُمْ وَبَيْنَهُمْ مِيثَاقٌ, that those who join a group between whom that group and you, between them and you, there is a treaty, right? So if you have made a peace treaty with a group and some other member who was not part of the group when you made the treaty, but later they joined the group afterwards, the peace treaty will apply to them as well. Alright? Second, O ja'ukum, or they come to you. So the first is they seek refuge and sanctuary in a group with whom you have a peace agreement. The second is that they come to you, believers. They come to you themselves. Why? Hasirat, and this is why I wanted to highlight this verse. Listen very carefully. Hasirat suduruhum an yuqatilukum o yuqatilukumahum. That there's something restraining their breasts. Their breasts are restrained. The hearts in their breasts. The conscience in their breasts. The humanity in their breasts. So sometimes the word sadr, it's plural of sudur, which means breast. It's used by Allah Ta'ala in the Quran to denote the essence of our humanity, our conscience, our innate morality. It's restraining. Their hearts are restraining them from what? That they should fight you with the intention to kill you, and their heart in their breast, their conscience in their breast is also restraining them that they should fight even their own people. So this is also a notion of humanity, that those who are not perverted by an evil hatred for belief, even they have not adopted belief themselves, they're still about disbelievers, but they won't resort to violence or desire to kill. Now this also makes it clear, this is why I'm highlighting this, that this makes it clear that all the verses in Quran about engaging in battle with the disbelievers is about those disbelievers whose conscience is such that it has so much hostility to belief and the people of Iman that they wish to kill them. And any disbeliever, even though they remain a disbeliever, but their heart does not have that hostility that they wish to kill, then you cannot fight them. This is what I'm trying to highlight for you in this verse. Alright? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, okay, what happened to these people that find they don't believe, but they don't have that violent intention? وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ, however, had Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willed, لَسَلَّتَهُمْ عَلَيْكُمْ, Allah ta'ala could have made them musallat on you, means Allah could have made them triumphant and could have given them power over you. But rather than doing that, they're coming to you in peace, in non-violence, and saying, we are not of you, we don't believe what you believe, we don't want to believe, but it doesn't mean we want to fight you and we want to kill you. Alright? Okay. So if Allah Ta'ala had willed, He would have given them such a power and warrant and authority over and upon you, فَلَقَاتَلُوكُمْ, and then surely they would have fought you and tried to kill you. فَإِنِ اعْتَزَلُوكُمْ, and if they withdraw back from you, فَلَمْ يُقَاتِلُوكُمْ, then you cannot engage them in battle. Instead, what you should do, وَأَلْقَوْا إِلَيْكُمُ السَّلَامَ, you should offer them peace. So they're coming to you with non-violence. You will not engage them in violence. You will offer them a peace. So they're coming to you, non-violence means they're coming to you neutral. You can accept that neutrality and take it one step further, and you're going to offer them peace. And then Allah Ta'ala makes it clear, فَمَا جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ عَلَيْهِمْ سَبِيلًا, Allah Ta'ala has not made for you, permitted to you, alayhim, upon them, sabila, you have no means that you can adopt against them. You have no right to do anything against them. Why? Who are those people? It's not that they accepted Iman. They remain disbelievers, but their hearts, conscience, their inner humanity restrains them, prevents them from wanting to fight and kill the believers. So again, understand what I said. That means that when it's clear, crystal clear in Quran was the guidance for such people, it means that then the guidance about engaging is only for those who have this desire of violence and to kill the people of belief. And that is what in simple English one would call self-defense, or one in a more fancy term would call to remove tyranny and oppression and injustice. Alright? So this was the major thing I wanted to highlight for you. And then, all the way up till, there are different verses, different ahkam, teachings, legal rulings, up to verse 99. Okay, on verse 100, back again to the concept of hijrah. Alright? So in verse 100, again, it's an absolute, universal, general rule Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying. First and foremost, obviously true, yes, historically about the migration of Sahaba Ikram radiyallahu ta'ala ajma'in from Makkah to Medina Munawwarah, but in a more broad sense that I will explain. Verse 100, Surah An-Nisa, Surah 4, verse 100. وَمَنْ يُهَاجِرْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ يَجِدْ فِي الْأَرْضِ مُرَاغَمًا كَثِيرًا وَسَعًا, and whomsoever migrates in the path of Allah Ta'ala, seeking the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala for the sake of deen, any and every such person will find fil ardi, on earth, muragaman kathiran wasa'a, they will find many, many places of refuge, places where they can settle, places where they can relocate, wasa, and they will find a lot of abundance in provision and sustenance. I mean, that will come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It will come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Allah Ta'ala goes even one step further. وَمَنْ يَخْرُجْ مِنْ بَيْتِهِ, and whomsoever leaves their home, muhajiran, migrating, ilallahi wa rasuli, for the sake, literally means to Allah Ta'ala and to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, for the sake of Allah Ta'ala and the path of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, ثُمَّ يُدْرِكُ الْمَوْتُ, and then while they're in the act of migrating, death overtakes them, and they die. فَقَدْ وَقَعَ أَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ, still the reward of having completed the migration and relocating and resettled will entirely be due upon them, will be due to them upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمًا, and indeed Allah Ta'ala is ever and always all forgiving and all merciful, loving, compassionate. Alright. Now there are different concepts of hijrah. So one was this initial hijrah. So the question arises today, what is and what is not hijrah? So the first thing is that so some people take this teaching in a wrong way. And they try to suggest that every single Muslim living in any land which is majority non-Muslim, or any land that is majority Muslim but the government is not entirely following all of the Islamic teachings, that such a person must make a quote-unquote hijrah. That is not true. Alright? In fact, the Sahaba Kiram radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in themselves, and the Tabi'in and the Tabai Tabi'in, so you know that these first three generations are the Salaf Salihin, right? And they are golden three generations. They actually migrated to many non-Muslim lands, and they established Muslim communities, sometimes very small communities, sometimes larger communities, deep in the heartland of non-Muslim lands. And yes, many times due to the barakah, the blessing of their ikhlas, sincerity, and their akhlaq, their character, that those Muslim communities expanded and eventually actually became the entire land, surrounding lands, empires even became Muslim. But it began by that drop. So the same thing is true today. However, on the other hand, if a person is living in any place in the world, whether it's a Muslim country, non-Muslim country, and they feel that there's something in their immediate society, culture, neighborhood, surrounding, context, environment, which is harmful to their iman, which is threatening their iman, then yes, it is considered better for them than to migrate to a place where they can live more comfortably and easily on their iman. So if there's a place where there's a lot, not a little, there's a lot of hostility or prejudice or bias, and a person has the means and ability to migrate from there, it would be better, not required, but it would be better for them. If there's a place that doesn't have many masajid or ulama or shuyukh or Islamic institutions of learning or good Islamic schools, and parents have children, and there are other places that have such institutions and communities, it would be better for them to migrate to such a place. Alright? Okay. Another aspect of hijrah can also be, so not for the sake of, so this what I just did right now is for the sake of one's own deen. Another aspect can be for the sake of the deen of others. And that was the dawah that the Sahaba Kiram and Tabi'in and Tabai Tabi'in did. Otherwise, why in the world would anybody leave Makkah Mukarramah, Medina Munawwara, Quds Sharif, Dimashq, Baghdad, Kufa, Basra, right? These wonderful, wonderful Islamic metropolises, and go live deep, like I told you, in the heartlands of the non-Muslims. They did this for the sake of dawah. Okay, so that's another type of hijrah, to move to a place like I know some very noble men and women, alim and alimas from South Africa, who migrated to Venezuela and some of these Central American, Latin American countries for the sake of dawah. Otherwise, in their own home, their communities were much, much stronger Islamically, but they migrated for the sake of dawah. So that has to be done with a lot of care, istikhara, to discuss with others, to be in the guidance of ulama and shuyukh, to make sure that you're strong enough to do that, to be in constant contact, maybe to do that for a limited period, maybe not necessarily to do that for one's whole life, but that is also a type of migration. Alright? And there can be others, but this was enough of an example. Okay, verse 103. Verse 103, so in verse 101, 102, and 102, there's a lot of a very technical description of how to pray, how you must continue to pray the Fard Salah, and how to do so when engaged with those who are people of violence, and those people who have intention to murder, when you engage with them on the battlefield, how you must continue to pray your salah. In verse 103, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions at that time, but also generally a principle, what? فَإِذَا كَذَيْتُمُ الصَّلَاةَ, when you completed, finished, offered your salah, your prayer, فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِكُم, that you must continue to remember Allah ta'ala always, when standing, when sitting, and lying on your sides. And if you remember, we did this verse earlier, and the reason I'm highlighting it here, because some people mistakenly think that that verse about dhikr means salah, and it's just talking about the three different ways people pray. So this verse makes it clear that Allah Ta'ala is saying, when you've completed your salah, you must do dhikr, you must remember Allah Ta'ala, standing, sitting, and when you're lying upon your sides, meaning at all times, because a human being is always in one of these three postures. So then imagine, just think, that if Allah Ta'ala wants that after salah, we should remember Allah Ta'ala so intently, so profoundly, so constantly, that we're remembering Him in every state, imagine the amount of zikr we should have had inside the salah. Allahu Akbar Kabira. So this is a teaching of our deen. Elsewhere, Allah Ta'ala has made it clear, that you should establish salah for my remembrance. Allah Ta'ala says in Quran, for the sake of the remembrance of Allah Ta'ala. And if you're successful in that, then that remembrance will linger. That remembrance will continue. The connection established in salah will continue after the salah. That's the purpose of salah. And alhamdulillah, because we are now in Ramadan and offering the fard fast, so we should also take this month as an opportunity to fix and improve our fard salah. And the way to do that is to improve the recitation that we, the zikr and remembrance that we have in salah. Then the end of this verse, Inna salata kanat ala mu'minina kitabun mawquta, that indeed the salah has been prescribed upon the believers, mawquta, from waqt, at fixed, specific times. Alright? And this is the understanding that the formal salah is at the 5 times that all of you know, Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha. Okay. Verse 105 to verse 107. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to mention this notion of judging on the basis of Quran al-Kareem, because when we did this before yesterday, that Allah ta'ala said that we must judge with adl, we must decide and be hakam between people in adl, in justice and in fairness and in equity. So there's a particular historical event that happened at the time of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, about a criminal who was presented to him and judging about the crime. Okay? Again, I'm not going to tell you that long historical detail, because it's a general teaching. Inna anzalna ilayka al-kitaba bil-haqqi. Allah says, indeed I, in all my might and my knowledge and my attributes and my wisdom and from my essence, have sent down ilayka, to you, Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you singular, al-kitaba, in the book, in the Quran al-Kareem, bil-haqqi, with the absolute truth, li-tahkuma, so that you, singular Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may judge bayna nasi, between and amongst all of the people, bima arakallahu, on the basis of which, what Allah Ta'ala has shown you, singular Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وَلَا تَكُنْ لِلْخَائِنِينَ خَصِيمًا, and you should not plead for the deceitful. Now, just to tell you, obviously Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam never knowingly plead for the deceitful. There was somebody who was, let's say, deceiving or pretending to be innocent, right? And Allah Ta'ala is telling, and here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that you should never plead on their behalf. So what we learn here is sometimes that people will deceive the arbitrators of justice. People will plead innocence incorrectly. Alright? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاسْتَغْفِرُ, so seek the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's addressed again in the singular. So, O you Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, seek forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna Allaha kana ghafurur rahima. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all forgiving, all merciful. This will help you understand why it comes in hadith that Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I seek Allah's forgiveness 70 times every day. What does it mean? So this is a beautiful thing. Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not seeking forgiveness for sins and disobedience. disobedience. Rather, he was seeking Allah Ta'ala's forgiveness for errors in judgment that he was making because he was too merciful, compassionate, optimistic about human beings. Allahu Akbar Kabira. And that was his nature, and that's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made him. Alright? And this is exactly what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling him. That somebody is deceitful and you're pleading their case. You don't know they're deceitful, but they're deceiving you. And you're so loving and soft and tender and kind and compassionate and merciful. So seek Allah Ta'ala's forgiveness. Right? Inna Allah kana ghafurur rahima. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all forgiving and all merciful. Alright. Then, وَلَا تُجَادِلْ عَنِ الَّذِينَ يَخْتَانُونَ أَنفُسَهُمْ. And do not argue concerning those who have deceived themselves. To wanted to deceive others, wanted to be in the state of self-deception, self-delusion. Then Allah Ta'ala says a very important thing, and we did this before, a verse where Allah Ta'ala says La yuhibbu, and he mentions it in pairs. If you remember last time, it was mukhtalan fakhura, and here is what? Inna Allah la yuhibbu man kana khawanan athima. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not love any and every such person who is khawan. Khawan is a mubalagh and tenth form of kha'in, is treacherous, is betraying. Athiman is extremely sinful and sinning. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not love such a person. Allah Ta'ala will never love such a person. Allah Ta'ala, it is beyond even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy and compassion, even beyond his being Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim and Al-Ghafur Al-Ghaffar, to love such a person who is Khawan and Athima. So who are those people? In the next verse, Allah Ta'ala will describe who they are. Number 1, يَسْتَخْفُونَ مِنَ النَّاسِ. They seek to hide from the people. وَلَا يَسْتَخْفُونَ مِنَ اللَّهِ. But they cannot hide from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They cannot hide from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what does it mean? Right? This is a notion of a deception. Right? This is a notion of the deception, the self-deception, to deceive others, but they can't deceive Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They seek to hide their reality from others, but they cannot hide from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They try to plot secretly, right, their crimes when they're hidden from others, but they can't hide. They're plotting secretly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright? Second, min Allah wa huwa ma'ahum, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with them. إِذْ يُبَيِّتُونَ مَا لَا يَرْضَى. When they plot by night those things that Allah Ta'ala is not pleased with, min al-qawl. So they plot by night in words that Allah Ta'ala does not approve. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ بِمَا يَعْمَلُونَ مُحِيطًا. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is entirely, his awareness and his knowledge encompasses entirely bima ya'malun, every single thing that they do. Alright? Athiman means extremely sinful. So extremely treacherous, extremely deceptive, extremely betraying, and extremely sinful. So we make dua that Allah Ta'ala never make us among such people, that we should never plot secretly against others. We should never think that we can hide from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should never think that we can conceal anything from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We must always remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all-knowing, Al-Alim and Al-Khabir, and all aware. Okay, in verses 110 to 112, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talk about sinning and repenting from sin. وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ سُوءًا أَوْ يَظْلِمْ نَفْسَهُ ثُمَّ يَسْتَغْفِرِ اللَّهَ يَجِدِ اللَّهَ غَفُورًا رَحِيمًا. And whomsoever perpetrates and commits an evil deed, or in any way wrongs themselves through some act of transgression or oppression, thumma, but then thereafter, yastaghfir Allah, seeks the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yajid Allah, surely they will find and know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ghafurur Rahima, He's all forgiving and all merciful. Alhamdulillah. So all we have to do is seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's forgiveness, and immediately what will happen is we will find the reality that Allah Ta'ala is the being who is all forgiving, all merciful, loving, and compassionate. وَمَنْ يَكْسِبْ إِثْمًا. And anybody who commits a sin and thereby earns its foulness and its punishment, فَإِنَّمَا يَكْسِبُهُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ, then they have only earned that sin to the detriment of their own self. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ عَلِيمًا حَكِيمًا, and indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all-knowing and all-wise. It means that the sins that we do are only stains and harm for ourselves, and it's our own self-interest that we should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's forgiveness. Then, وَمَنْ يَكْسِبْ, and that person who earns through their active commission خَطِيئَةً, some fault, or إِثْمًا, or a sin, ثُمَّ يَرْمِ بِهِ bari'an, but then after that, yarmi literally means to throw it, to cast it, bihi bari'an, on an innocent. It means they do a sin and they blame an innocent person. So they cast the blame, or they throw that sin upon someone who is bari, who is actually absolved and innocent and pure from it. So it could be an innocent person. فَقَدْ احْتَمَلَ بُهْتَانًا وَإِثْمًا مُبِينًا, then surely that person has taken on a burden. احتمل has taken a hamal, has taken on a burden upon themselves of what? Of a buhtan, that they falsely slandered someone, and they have done an ithma mubina, a very clear and manifest sin. So this is the verse in Quran al-Kareem which prohibits, in very strong words, that we should never ever blame others for things that they haven't done. We should never attribute sin to those, or accuse people of sins that they are innocent of. Alright. 115, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, 115, Allah ta'ala mentions another general teaching. وَمَنْ يُشَاقِقِ الرَّسُولَ وَمَنْ يُشَاقِقِ الرَّسُولَ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُ الْهُدَى, and whosoever opposes, engages in opposition to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam after ma tabayyana lahul huda, after hidayah was made clear to them. So again, remember, people, they know the truth, they choose to oppose it anyway. وَيَتَّبِعْ غَيْرَ سَبِيلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, and when they choose to oppose the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even though they've been given hidayah, what do? They follow a path other than the path of the believers. نُوَلِّهِ مَا تَوَلَّى وَنُثْلِهِ جَهَنَّمْ, we will turn that person towards whatever they're turning to. So they're turning away from the path of believers. Allah Ta'ala said, we will further turn them towards the direction that they have adopted of misguidance, and then we will drag them and burn them in the fire of Jahannam. وَسَاءَتْ مَصِيرًا, and indeed how evil and terrible is the fire of Jahannam as a destination. I wanted to highlight one very important term in this verse that only comes from my memory in this one place in Quran al-Kareem: Sabil al-Mu'mineen, the path of the believers. And so you have, the Quran, the Sunnah, and there's another term being used by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Quran al-Kareem, the way of the believers. Alright? So this is where the Sunni ulama came up with this doctrine of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, that we are people who follow the Quran, and we follow the Sunnah, and we follow the Jama'ah. What is the Jama'ah? It's the Mu'mineen, the way of the believers. So there's something there special that when all the believers do something. So for example, alhamdulillah, from the time of Sahaba Kiram radiyallahu ta'ala an majmain, all the way up till today, every single year in Ramadan, from the time of Sayyidina Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu until today, every single year, Salatul Taraweeh has been prayed in Makkah Mukarramah in front of the Kaaba, and in Masjid Nabawi Medina Munawwara with 20 rakats. So when you have some continuity of amal like that, some amal that spans centuries and has been practiced by ulama from different ethnicities, races, legal, theoretical schools, that would be something that would be called Sabil al-Mu'mineen, the way of the Mu'mineen. Alright? More broadly, what it means is the way of the Mu'mineen is nothing else other than Deen of Islam. And so our deen is a deen of a collective. This is why in the very beginning Surah Fatiha, when we were making dua, Allah Ta'ala, we made dua that Ya Allah guide us, Ihdina Siratul Mustaqim. Oh Allah Ta'ala, guide all of us to Siratul Mustaqim. It's not a go it your alone deen. It's not It's a deen of a Jamaat of mu'mineen. That's the real Jamaat, and in our deen we call that the Ummah. Alright? Okay. Then verse 116, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala repeats a verse that we did for you, I think, yesterday. Inna Allah la yaghfiru an yushraka bihi wa yaghfiru ma duna dhalik. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not forgive that partners be associated with Him, however, Allah ta'ala does forgive any and everything other than that, liman yasha, for whomsoever He may choose. Now, I forgot to mention when we did this last time it came, if you may remember, it came after the mention of kaba'ir. And so Allah Ta'ala said that person is ijtinab from kaba'ir, who stays away from kaba'ir, then Allah Ta'ala will do yukaffir anhum as-sayyat, and Allah Ta'ala will waive for them all of their other evil deeds. So the question remained that, okay, well, what about if I've done kaba'ir? So the verse, that was another aspect to highlight there, that Allah Ta'ala to reassure us that no, He can forgive the kaba'ir also for whomsoever He wants. The only thing He won't forgive on the Day of Judgment is shirk. Okay. Verse 118. It is 118, 119, and 120. Allah Ta'ala is going to just teach us about shaitan. And what does shaitan say, and what does he want, and what does he do, and how does he operate. So, La'anahullahu, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has cast shaitan outside of His mercy, love, and compassion. Waqala, and then shaitan, he said, لَأَتَّخِذَنَّ مِنْ إِبَادِكَ نَصِيبًا مَفْرُوضًا. Surely I will take from your creatures, your slaves, from Bani Adam, from human beings, nasibam, a portion, mafruda, that is appointed to me. Means I will mislead them, I will misguide them. Then shaitan said, وَلَا أُذِلَّنَّهُمْ, and I will surely, certainly lead them astray. وَلَا أُذِلَّنَّهُمْ, and I will surely, certainly mislead them and cause them to go astray. وَلَا أُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ, and then I will arise wishes and desires and dreams in them. وَلَا آمُرَنَّهُمْ, and then I will command them and I will order them such that فَلَا يُبَتِّكُنَّ أَذَانَ الْأَنْعَامِ, literally it means that they will cut off the ears of the cattle. Then وَلَا آمُرَنَّهُمْ, and surely, certainly I will command them. What? فَلَيُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ, that they will try to change the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright, so here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing what shaitan will do. So first thing, shaitan is outside, cast outside of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is something I had explained earlier on in this series. What did shaitan do? What's the first way he led people astray? Is he led them astray to do shirk. Link it to what came before. What's the one thing Allah's not going to forgive? Shirk. Then obviously what does shaitan want to lead people into? Shirk. It's shaitan who taught humanity this concept of idol worship, or worshipping fire, worshipping statues, any and every form of polytheism, any and every form of idolatry, any and every form of paganism that has existed in the entire history of humanity was taught by shaitan to those historical communities or individuals in humanity to lead them astray. For one reason only, because they were Bani Adam. Allahu Akbar. For one reason. Because they were Bani Adam, they were the descendants of Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam, who shaitan has absolute hatred and envy and malice and spite for. And this aspect then of the cutting the ears of the cattle, this is a specific thing that some of the pre-Islamic pagans used to do when they, as a sort of type of, not sacrifice by killing the animal, but cutting the ears of animals, piercing holes in the ears of animals, and then, releasing those animals in the wilderness in the name of their false idols, Lat, Manat, and Uzza. Alright? And then all other types of animal sacrifice that were done to idols, blood sacrifices at altars, all types of things in volcanoes, ajib things shaitan has taught humanity. So what we learn from this, not just this one thing, shaitan is the one who has taught every single belief, ritual, act of all polytheism, idolatry, and paganism in the history of humanity. Why? Because you understood that shirk is the one thing that Allah Ta'ala will not forgive on the Day of Judgment. Alright. Then another thing that was mentioned here is that Shaitan takes this swear, he's taking a qasam, he's taking an oath to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that they will surely change the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now what does that mean? If you want to take it in a scientific way, they will try to do eugenics or genetically modify things. If you take it in a physical way, 20th century way, it could be tattoos, it could be, changing the natural order of creation, changing gender norms, changing the concept of what is marriage, so many things in natural law, natural creation, the way Allah Ta'ala has naturally created humanity, the way humanity has historically understood what it means to be human. Shaitan will change that. To be human transcends gender, you can be transgender. To be human means you can have a strange understanding of what marriage is. These are all things coming from Shaitan, right? And so the humans are just victims. They're victims who are not, they should not be object of our ridicule or mocking, let alone, na'udhu our hatred or enmity. They should be actually turned to with mercy and love and compassion and gently, with wisdom, invited out of these satanic deceptions that Shaitan has put into people. Alright? And then Allah Ta'ala makes it clear at the end, end of this ayah, وَمَنْ يَتَّخِذِ الشَّيْطَانَ وَلِيًّا مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ, and whomsoever takes Shaitan as their intimate, near friend, protector, guardian, in place of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, besides Allah ta'ala, instead of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَقَدْ خَسِرَ خُسْرَانًا مُبِينًا, indeed such a person has lost a tremendous, manifest loss. يَأْدُهُمْ وَيُمَنِّيهِمْ, he makes false promises to them. He arouses hopes and desires in them. وَمَا يَأْدُهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ إِلَّا غُرُورًا, and Shaitan does not promise them anything except that it is a complete deception. Alright? So alhamdulillah, we're in the month where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself has changed Shaitan, but the other 11 months of the year and so many years of our life, we are very much at risk. So even in this month, we should especially make dua that, Ya Allah, the same way in this month of Ramadan, you changed Shaitan and protected me in that way. I know that afterwards he will be released, but I need your protection, and protect me from him in such a perfect way as if he is chained. Protect me through the garment of taqwa, protect me through the garment of yaqeen, protect me through the garment of tawakkul ala Allah, protect me through the garment of following the Sharia and Sunnah, protect me to humility, so I never fall into delusions of self-grandeur, or think I'm so pious, or I'm strong, or I'm immune, or I'm beyond the reach of Shaitan. And Ya Allah, up till now, if I have not fallen into any of these things, any type of shirk, it's only of your mercy and your guidance and your love and your compassion. And Allah Ta'ala, first, I'm grateful for that, and I make dua for all of humanity that you send your hidayah on them as well, and that you rescue all of Bani Adam for each and every treacherous trick of Shaitan. Go forward to verse 125. So again, verse 25, it's a repetition of a verse, but I don't want to always leave the things that are repeated, because if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala repeats something in Quran, at least there should be some feeling of that in our series as well. And this is a good opportunity for me to repeat what I try to say every night, is that this is a series where we are just looking at selected verses of Quran al-Kareem, so that we can get a glimpse into the incredible teachings of Quran in this month of Ramadan. Even the verses we are selecting, there's much, much deeper understanding and commentary on them, and every verse that we're unable to select itself is a gem and jewel of Quran al-Kareem. Verse 125. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ دِينًا مِمَّنْ أَسْلَمَ وَجْهَهُ لِلَّهِ وَهُوَ مُحْسِنٌ وَاتَّبَعَ مِلَّةَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ حَنِيفًا. And who could be more virtuous, more noble, more perfect, more excellent, more beautiful in terms of and in regard of their deen, other than that person? Aslama wajhuhu, they have submitted. Literally, it means they've submitted their face. And wajh here means they've submitted their entire direction and expression of their life and their heart and mind and soul, lillahi, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. Wahuwa, and all the while such a person is muhsinun, a person who does ihsan, who perpetrates and commits acts of virtue, nobility, beauty, and excellence. وَاتَّبَعَ and they follow مِلَّةَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ حَنِيفًا. They follow the millah. And I explained this to you before. So millah means they follow the, if you will, sort of in English, they follow the cultural, they follow this ethical, moral, spiritual norms, the collective ethical, moral, spiritual norms that were embodied by the life and teachings of Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam, who was Hanifa, who was upright and virtuous. And then about Ibrahim alayhi salam, what does Allah say? وَاتَّخَذَ اللَّهُ إِبْرَاهِيمَ خَلِيلًا. And indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He took Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam as his Khalil. So Khalil sometimes in English it translated as bosom companion, intimate companion. This is the sort of archaic English. So Khalil means they're khulla. So there's one is khulla, one is mahabba, one is mahbubiyya. So khulla, so Khalil is the person you have khulla with, is your very, very close companion, friend, endearment. And mahabba is love, and mahbubi is belovedness. Alright? And so some of the ulama have said that when Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he used to love Ibrahim alayhi salam so much, and he told us as an ummah. So this is one of the many, many beautiful explanations of this, that when we recite salawat, durood, and salah, what do we say? Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim. So the ulama asked the question that why did the Prophet ﷺ choose to make Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam the standard of salawat? So one answer they gave was that although Allah Ta'ala has and had and always has and will bestowed upon the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam the Maqam of Mahmud, that he is Ahmad and Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, is the one who's praised Allah Ta'ala the most. He is the one who is praised by Allah Ta'ala the most. He has Muhabba and Mahbubiyya. He's the one who loves Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala the most, and he is the one who's beloved to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala the most. But there was this word that came in Quran al-Kareem, وَاتَّخَذَ اللَّهُ إِبْرَاهِيمَ خَلِيلًا. And Sayyidina Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, not only did he want that he should be Ahmad and Muhammad and Muhib and Mahbub, but he also wanted to be Khalil, and he wanted this virtue also that Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam had been given. Okay, verse 128. So I did not do the verse that came earlier because a very long commentary of that. And by the way, we have put up an English tafsir on the website, islamicspirituality.org. You can get the tafsir of the whole Quran, which we taught in 2 years in Ramadan, several years ago. It's not very well organized and labeled on the website, but it's there. And inshallah, at some point, the team will try to improve that website for all of you. So there's a verse that comes in Surah Nisa, the very famous verse earlier, which is about nushuz, that if a woman does nushuz, and that can be rebellion, disobedience, shameless conduct, immodesty, and has been interpreted by many also to mean outright adultery. So what should the process be if a woman does nushuz? Many times people, they just look at that verse and they don't look at this verse. So this verse I'm going to do for you. Surah Nisa, Surah 4, 128, a man can also do nushuz. The husband can also do nushuz. Means the husband may also be found guilty of ill conduct, shameless conduct, outright adultery, immodesty, violation of chastity. It's the same word in Arabic. Okay, so the same word that was used earlier for women, the wife, is now being used for men, meaning the husband. All right. Okay. One minute. Okay. وَإِنْ امْرَأَةٌ خَافَتْ مِنْ بَعْلِهَا نُشُوزًا. And if a woman fears from the part of her husband, that on behalf of the husband, that the husband may commit nushuz, and I've explained that. أو إعراضًا, or she's worried that her husband will abandon her, desert her, turn away from her. فَلَا جُنَاهَ عَلَيْهِمَا. Then there is no literally means there's no sin, there's no harm on both of them. An yusliha, that they should try and do sulh. They should try and bring about peace between one another. They should try to reconcile between one another. An yusliha bainahuma sulha, that they should try to make terms of peace, find a path to reconciliation between the two of them amongst themselves, sulha, with the intention to have a lasting, permanent reconciliation. And then the third time Allah Ta'ala uses this word was sulhu khair, and reconciliation is best. Reconciliation is best. This itself is a very famous, just 2-3 word phrase of Quran. Was sulhu khair, was sulhu khair. So anytime, and it's for any relationship, it can be husband and wife, can be parent-child, can be siblings, can be neighbors, can be business partners, can be professional colleagues, can be friends, can be teacher-student, any relationship. Was sulhu khair, and reconciliation is the best, is khair, is better. وَأُحْضِرَتِ الْأَنفُسُ الشُّحْ. However, what happens is that shuh, avarice, greed, draws souls. It literally means it will make itself present in the mind of the person. Means obviously this is an obstacle to that reconciliation. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِن تُحْسِنُوا, however, if you do adopt virtuous behavior, create acts of beauty and nobility, وَتَتَّقُوا, and you fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by being conscious of Him and His might and majesty, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ خَبِيرًا, that indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ever and always all aware of each and every single thing that you do. Alright? So this is the verse in Quran Al-Kareem Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning, and I didn't do the earlier one, but the longer process mentioned, the earlier one is for the same reason, is sulh. Sulh is the main goal and objective whenever there is a danger even, let alone outright breakdown in the marriage. So reconciliation. Okay, now in 130, Allah Ta'ala will mention what will happen when there's not reconciliation, but I want to mention to you another thing in 129, because again, which I didn't do for you earlier, was the verse about marrying 2, 3, and 4 women. Alright, and there Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says you must be just to them. Again, people don't look at that verse in light of this verse, so I'm going to do this one for you, verse 129. وَلَن تَسْتَطِيعُوا أَن تَعْدِلُوا بَيْنَ النِّسَاءِ, and you will never ever be able to be perfectly just and equitable between multiple women. وَلَوْ حَرَصْتُمْ, even if you deeply desire to do so. فَلَا تَمِيلُوا كُلَّ الْمَيْلِ, but what you should not do is you should not incline, be partisan, lean towards, kullal meli, with all inclination, towards just one, fatadharuha kal mu'allaka, and leave the other one. I mean, it's in some contemporary English slang, but that's the literal verse, and leave the other one hanging. That's what it means. Fatadharuha, and leave the other one kal mu'allaka, as if she's hanging, as she's suspended. So interesting, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yes, has said that you can never be completely equitable. So then what is the command? So it means that the real command there, which is to marry 2, 3, or 4, if you're able to be equitable with them, there Allah also said you won't be able to be. Here Allah is also saying you won't be able to be. So what is it that you should do? You should not unfairly be partisan towards one over the other. That's really what you have to do. And that's the definition of adl. It's not possible, وَلَوْ حَرَصْتُمْ, even if you deeply desired, because it's a matter of the heart, right? You will ultimately slightly have different feelings or different relationship, because every relationship is different with different people. But what you are required to do is that you should not be partisan towards anyone, or you should not sideline anyone. All right. Beyond that, there's much that could be said about that whole topic, and I've said that in detail if you listen to the longer Tafsir series on the website. Okay. But again, the word that's going to come a fourth time within this surah. وَإِن تُصْلِحُوا وَتَتَّقُوا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ غَفُورًا رَحِيمًا. It just came above, if you remember, right? So if you do sulh, right? What does it mean? So the one that you left hanging, doesn't mean divorce her. You should do sulh, you should reconcile with her, you should again be loving, compassionate, etc. with her. وَتَتَّقُوا, and you must again fear Allah Ta'ala and be always aware and conscious of Him. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ غَفُورًا رَحِيمًا. For indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always and ever all forgiving, all merciful. Alright. Then finally, in this immediate case, but generally as well, in the immediate preceding two cases, one was that the person was more inclined, extremely inclined to one, and was leaving one hanging. That was 129. And 128, in the woman's wife's case, that the husband has done nushuz, ill conduct, was going to. So in both of these above cases, and generally in marriage, وَإِن يَتَفَرَّقَا, and if the two separate, which is again not, this is the opposite of sulh. They don't reconcile, they separate. Means a divorce. يُغْنِ اللَّهُ كُلًّا مِّن سَعَتِهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will enrich each of the two of them from the abundance and expanse and breadth of His own rizq. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ وَاسِعًا حَكِيمًا. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's wisdom is all encompassing. This is very important also, that if they can't do the sulh for whatever reason, number one, so yugnillahu, yugni literally comes from ghani, to be rich, and yugni, for those of you who remember, it's baba ifal, so Allah Ta'ala will make rich, He will enrich, He will make each of them independent. So some take this to mean, obviously in its first literal meaning, which is financial independence. Financial independence. Second is that Allah Ta'ala will make them emotionally independent from one another. Emotionally independent from His own wus'ah, from the breadth of His all-encompassing wisdom. Alright, now obviously there may be time, it may take time for that to happen, but a person should read this verse if Allah Ta'ala, may Allah Ta'ala protect and preserve everyone's marriage, all those who are married in Ummah. But if it comes to the separation, this is the verse that should be recited and reflected and pondered upon, and one should make dua to Allah Ta'ala that, Ya Allah, You said in Quran that You would grant me this enrichment physically, materially, in terms of wealth, but also emotionally, in terms of my heart, spiritually, because that's the greatest richness that I would want. And I'll tell Him, this is what I hope and yearn from You. Alright? But like I said, it may take some time. Alright, now, verse 133, a totally different topic. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran al-Kareem, إِن يَشَأْ يُذْهِبْكُمْ أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ وَيَأْتُ بِآخِرِينَ. That if Allah Ta'ala wills, He can eliminate you. He can remove you from earth. He can take you away. أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ, O all people. And وَيَأْتِ بِآخِرِينَ. And Allah Ta'ala can bring others. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can bring others. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ عَلَى ذَلِكَ قَدِيرًا. And indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ever and always all powerful and all capable to do precisely that. عَلَى ذَلِكَ, to do precisely that, and over such a matter. So nothing is difficult for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and every person should consider it an honor and a grace and a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gave us Iman and made us this community of believers. Now, strictly speaking, it does not mean that Allah Ta'ala can eliminate the entire ummah of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and bring another ummah, because we are the last ummah. But Allah Ta'ala can eliminate any segment of that ummah, any class of that ummah, any group of that ummah. It can be a whole group of ulama, can be a group of ordinary people, can be a whole type of civilization, whether Persian or Turkic or South Asian or African. It can be anything, any collectivity. It can also be any single individual. Allah Ta'ala can remove a single individual, can refer to a single act. Allah Ta'ala may remove a single individual from a single effort of dawah or single service or khidmah of deen and bring someone else in their place. No one is irreplaceable. No one is insubstitutable. No one is perfect. No one is pure. No one is pristine. The only thing that is perfect and pure and pristine and everlasting and irreplaceable is the deen itself. No one, the Ahl Deen, not the greatest alim, not the greatest wali, not the greatest sheikh, not the greatest abid, not the greatest relief worker, not the greatest humanitarian. None of us are irreplaceable. And if any of us are doing anything for deen, it is only to the favor and grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And on the flip side, if any one of us is neglecting deen, if we're not valuing deen, if we're belittling deen, then Allah ta'ala can bring someone else in our place who would be honored and be grateful for the deen. If there's any ni'mah, bounty, blessing, whether it's health or a roof over our head or safety from war that Allah Ta'ala has blessed us with, and we're not honoring that, He's given us safety from war, a bed to sleep in, an air conditioner, and still we don't make up fajr, Allah Ta'ala can take away those bounties and blessings from us. Allah Ta'ala can take us away from the world. Alright? So this is for us to subjugate ourselves more and more and submit more and more to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, verse 135, another one of these, like I mentioned, one of these master usul verses dealing with interpersonal life. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you have adopted iman, kunu qawwamina bil qisti, that you should be the custodians of justice, the bearers of justice, the ones who established upon and established justice. Shuhada'a lillahi, as witnesses to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Walau ala anfusakum, even if you must bear testimony against your own selves, you must confess. Awal walidaini, even if you must confess and testify against your own parents. Wal aqrabin, or if you must confess and you must testify against your parents, or even if you have to testify against your close relatives. Allahu Akbar. So this is a master ruling, that justice demands that you must not be partisan, you must not be biased, you should not have prejudice, you should not have any favoritism, whether it's for yourself or for your parents or even your close and family members. So this is an intense level of justice, right? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions His own aspect of justice here. إن يكن غنيا أو فقيرا فالله أولى بهما. Whether a person may be rich or whether a person is poor, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is nearer and closer to each of them. So it means Allah ta'ala is not partisan between the rich and the poor. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is equally near and close and loving and as endeared of both the rich and the poor. So this is the equity and the fairness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا الْهَوَىٰ أَن تَعْدِلُوا. So you should not follow your whims and desires lest you deviate. So this is a different meaning of adl. So one meaning of the word adl is justice. Another is that you deviate, you flip. So do not follow your whims and desires lest you end up deviating. Do not follow your passions lest you deviate from being just, from doing justice, from enacting justice. وَإِن تَلْوُوا أَوْ تُعْرِضُوا, if you distort the teachings of justice, or you refrain, you turn away from the teachings of justice, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ خَبِيرًا, know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ever and always entirely aware of every single thing that you do. Therefore, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu aminu billahi wa rasuli. Therefore, O you who believe. And this is a very famous verse that, O you who have adopted belief, professed belief, began your journey belief, now truly believe by establishing justice, truly believe by adopting true virtuous character, truly believe by doing all of the things that the believers have been commanded to do. Aminu billahi wa rasulihi, believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's messenger, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, wal kitabi alladhi nazzala ala rasulihi, and the scriptural revelation that was sent down and revealed upon the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, yani Quran al-Kareem, wal kitabi alladhi anzala min qabl, and the scriptural revelation that was sent down before. وَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِاللَّهِ وَمَلَائِكَتِهِ وَكُتُبِهِ وَرُسُلِهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ فَقَدْ ضَلَّ ضَلَالًا بَعِيدًا. And whomsoever denies and disbelieves in the truth and existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the angels, His scriptural revelations, His noble prophets and messengers, and the day of judgment, surely such a person has lost the way, a manifest, has gone astray, ba'id, and a far, far astray. Okay, verse 139 is something we talked about before, but just one extra word. الَّذِينَ يَتَّخِذُونَ الْكَافِرِينَ أَوْلِيَاءَ مِن دُونِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. So those who have taken as protectors and allies and closest friends, those who deny the truth and disbelieve despite knowing it to be true, and they take such people as their allies, protectors, and friends, مِن دُونِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, instead of the believers. أَيَبْتَغُونَ إِنْدَهُمُ الْإِزَّةَ. Do they do so because they seek honor with them? فَإِنَّ الْإِزَّةِ لِلَّهِ جَمِيعًا. No, but rather indeed, izzah, honor and dignity, all of it is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to be found from Allah, in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is interesting, is something that some people do in this day and age. They seek to ally themselves intimately and nearly with those who deny the truth and disbelieve in it, because they think that gives them some status or honor or dignity or privilege in this world. Izzah. But they should know that Izzah belongs only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and is for Allah ta'ala alone. In another verse of Quran, Allah ta'ala said that Izzah is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and for believers. It means Izzah is through following the teachings of Deen. Then, I have to go. Next verse 140. Again, I'm just going to point out the general teaching here, although there's a particular historical circumstance for this revelation as well. This verse as well. Al-kitabi an idha sami'tum ayatillahi yukfaru biha wa yustahza'u biha fala تقعدوا معهم حتى يخوضوا في حديث غيره إنكم إذا مثلهم إن الله جامع المنافقين إن الله جامع المنافقين والكافرين في جهنم جميعا. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying is that, and surely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed and sent down upon all of you believers in, so this plural, in the scriptural revelation in the Quran al-Kareem, that whensoever you hear the verses of revelation, verses revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yukfaru, being denied to be true. But yukfaru biha, being denied, it is being denied to be true. Wa yustahza'u biha, or it's being ridiculed. فَلَا تَقْعُدُوا مَعَهُمْ, do not sit with such people. Don't sit with people who reject openly the truth, who ridicule Quran, who ridicule Deen, mock the Deen, ridicule anything mentioned in Quran al-Kareem, ridicule or deny the Sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whether they do it out of a very anti-religious form of secularism, whether they do out of some perverted, demented hostility towards faith and all matters of belief. Do not sit with them. فَلَا تَقْعُدُوا مَعَهُمْ until unless يَخُوذُوا فِي حَدِيثٍ غَيْرِهِ, until they engage in some other conversation. So that's also interesting. Don't leave them entirely. Don't sit with them while they do this until they engage in some other conversation. So university student, and you sit down and you have 3 friends and you're having coffee and they start ridiculing religion, mocking God. You can't sit with them. You cannot. فَلَا تَقْعُدُوا مَعَهُمْ, you cannot sit with them. But yes, when they change their speech and they're just talking to you, let's say about the accounting exam, you can sit with them. Why? Because if you sit with them while they talk like this, إِنَّكُمْ إِذًا مِثْلُهُمْ, indeed then you will be like them. They're mithl. Because remember, ghiba, it is true of ghiba and it's true of this as well, that if you listen to it, it's as if you said it, right? So the one doing the backbiting, it should be in theory worse because they're the one who's saying it. But if you listen to it passively, you're as bad as if you said it. So this is what Allah is saying about this as well, mocking, rejecting, denying. Number 1, yukfaru biha, and number 2, mocking and ridiculing, yustahzahu biha. Alright? So this is something we should be very careful of in this day and age, especially those of us who may have to interact professionally or academically with such people. Then in verse 142, the second part of it, Allah Ta'ala describes the munafiqun, the hypocrites, وَإِذَا قَامُوا إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ, and when they stand for the formal salah, formal prayer, قَامُوا كُسَالَى, they stand lazily. يُرَاءُونَ النَّاسَ, they're basically standing so that people will gaze upon them and see them that they're present and standing. So in that sense, they're standing to show off to people. They're not showing off, look how well I'm standing, because they're standing lazily. They're just standing there to be seen by people that they showed up and were present in the formal salah. وَلَا يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا, and they don't remember Allah Ta'ala except a little bit. So that's what I told you. The munafiqun aren't atheists. They don't deny the existence of Allah Ta'ala. They fully acknowledge His existence. That's why inside salah, they're lazy, their mind will wander slightly towards Him, and they will remember Him a little bit. And many of the ulama have mentioned what are the two attributes mentioned of the munafiqun. Remember, the munafiqun are in the lowest, that's coming in 145, that they're in the lowest level of Jahannam. But number one, they do pray. Number two, they stand lazily. And number three, they just want others to see that they're praying. And number four, they don't remember Allah Ta'ala a little bit. We should be very scared, because a lot of this applies to us all the time. If we're praying just so that our kids see us praying, or praying just so our parents see us praying, or we're going to the masjid because of what people think he's an alim, he's shaykh, didn't even come for Fajr Salah. So if we go for that reason, we are yura'un an-nas. If we stand in salah lazily, sloppily, we don't have proper qiyam, proper ruku, we don't stand with khushu, qanitin, we don't stand with the awe and remembrance of Allah Ta'ala, this applies to us. And if our mind is wandering in salah and we're thinking about all types of things other than Allah Ta'ala, or we're blanked out, or the best of us at the best of times say, yeah, I remembered Allah Ta'ala a little bit in one rak'ah and one salah, oh, وَلَا يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. Allahu Akbar. So what's happened to us that the state of our salah not just resembles, is exactly identical word for word to the salah that Allah Ta'ala described in the Quran of the munafiqun. So again, alhamdulillah, we're in the month of Ramadan, and while we're in the state of fard fasting, there perhaps may be very few. Fard Hajj also would be a good time to work on this fard salah. So let's start here. What should I work on? These are the things. Don't stand lazily. Don't pray so that others think you pray. And don't remember Allah Ta'ala only a little bit. Start with these three things that Allah Ta'ala has mentioned here in Quran al-Kareem. And then their nature now of what's in their heart. Why are they remembering Allah Ta'ala a little bit? Right? Because I told you they do believe in the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Slightly. They even have a little bit of an yearning to Him. مُذَبْذَبِينَ بَيْنَ ذَلِكَ لَا إِلَهَ أُولَاءِ وَلَا إِلَهَ أُولَاءِ. So they're wavering between this. Neither are they fully inclined towards these, means the believers, nor are they fully inclined towards those, means the unbelievers. وَمَنْ يُضْلِلِ اللَّهُ فَلَنْ تَجِدَ لَهُ سَبِيلًا. And that person who Allah Ta'ala lets go astray, they will never ever will you find for them a way back to the path of guidance. Alright? And verse 145, إِنَّ الْمُنَافِقِينَ فِي الدَّرْكِ الْأَسْفَلِ مِنَ النَّارِ. Indeed, the hypocrites are in the lowest depths of the fire of Jahannam. وَلَنْ تَجِدَ لَهُمْ نَصِيرًا. And you will never ever find a nasir for them, any person who will help them out of that fire. Okay, so very strong stuff, right, about the munafiqun. And I did some stuff with you earlier. There were some verses I skipped as well. But after all of the mention of the munafiqun generally thus far, and then specifically in 145, maybe one of the strongest things that Allah Ta'ala said about the munafiqun, that they've been the lowest depths of the fire of Jahannam, then what does Allah Ta'ala say? Amazingly, illa, except. So all of them will be in the lowest level of the fire of Jahannam, will have no nasir except alladhina tabu, except those who make tawbah. This is the power of tawbah. The power of tawbah can be enough to earn the salvation and attract the relenting mercy and forgiveness of Allah Ta'ala for the lowest human being, who is the munafiq. So then me and you should make tawbah in Ramadan. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ تَابُوا وَأَصْلَحُوا. So number one, they make tawbah, they leave all of those sins and they never repeat them. Number two, وَأَصْلَحُوا, and they rectify matters, they correct themselves, they do islah, means they bring themselves on to the path of amal salih, they bring themselves on to the path of virtue and piety and righteous, upright behavior, character, action, deeds. And number three, وَاعْتَصَمُوا بِاللَّهِ, and now they hold fast to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They go deep in deen, they become passionate on deen, they learn deen, they practice deen, they attach themselves to deen, they turn to Allah ta'ala, they're holding to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, always thinking about Allah ta'ala, making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَأَخْلَصُوا دِينَهُمْ, and then they adopt ikhlas, they're sincere in their deen. What does that mean? Lillahi, that they adopt deen only and only, purely, exclusively for the sake of the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَعَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, those who were previously what? Munafiqun in darkin, fi darkin asfali min an-nar, in the lowest depths and pits and abyss of Jahannam. Now, after having done the tawbah and the islah and the ihtisam billah and the ikhlas of their deen for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these four things, now who are they? فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَعَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, now they will be with the believers. وَسَوْفَ يُؤْتِ اللَّهُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ أَجْرًا عَظِيمًا, now that they have entered the ranks of the believers, they will be with the believers in Jannah, and then surely soon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bestow upon the believers ajran azima, a tremendous reward. Indeed, ma yaf'alullahu bi'adhabikum, what would Allah ta'ala do? What does Allah ta'ala get? What would Allah ta'ala do by punishing you? In shakartum, if you are grateful and appreciative to Him, wa amantum, and you accept iman, wa kana Allahu shakiran alima, and Allah Ta'ala Himself is shakiran, and I did this for you before, is extremely appreciative and values the acts that you do. Aliman is all knowing of every single thing that you do and think and feel. When this ends, alhamdulillah, the 5th juz. Tomorrow night we'll begin the 6th juz, which is Surah An-Nisa, verse 4, 148. We make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq and success from His mercy and His grace and His love and His compassion, His rahmah, that Allah ta'ala give us the tawfiq to practice what we have learned and to become in every sense those who are lovers of Quran, knowers of Quran, learners of Quran, and live our life according to Quran. Wa akhirun da'wana an alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.